Hi everybody, my name is Heila, Lotz, Sisitka, and I work at Rhodes University in South Africa in the Environmental Learning Research Center. I'm going to be talking today about learning, and particularly about transformative transgressive learning in the Anthropocene. So the Anthropocene, as you all know, is a new term that's being used to describe the world and the planet, and it's being used to indicate that human beings are fundamentally changing the world systems and are creating a world at risk. So in such a context, we need new ways of thinking about learning. Where I come from in Southern Africa, the place is heating up. We're losing our ecosystem services, and we have a number of different issues that are intersecting with these kinds of environmental concerns. And so in such a context, one has to give attention to new kinds of learning and new ways of thinking about learning. So the issues that we deal with in this context, they're complex, they're contested, they're characterized by uncertainty. And so in such a context, education can't be culturally reproductive. It can't reproduce the status quo. We have to find ways of learning and thinking about learning that are more transformative. And such approaches to learning need to be orientated towards social justice, environmental and food and water security, environmental sustainability, human well-being, and the common good. And so when we think about learning that's orientated towards these kinds of things, we can think about learning definitely that's change orientated, learning that's transformative, and learning that's transgressive. Now, change orientated learning involves really changes in our practice. We can see that in our everyday lives. If we do things a little bit differently, we can see changes in our practice that come about through new learning, and we can call that change orientated learning. Transformative learning in the literature refers to changes in our cognition, changes in our understandings, our experiences, our values, and how we see the world. Transgressive learning is interesting because it actually requires us to be a little bit more explicitly normative. We need to be critical, we've got to be action orientated, we have to challenge the status quo, cross borders and cross boundaries, and do things differently to what we are used to. So these ideas are helpful to challenge us to think a bit differently about learning. So in our research at the Environmental Learning Research Center, we've found in some of the reviews we've been doing 4 different ways of engaging in transformative transgressive learning, and we can call these approaches, and I'll give an overview of each of them. You can see them there listed number 1, 2, 3 and 4, and we'll start first with multi-stakeholder learning, which is a kind of learning that involves people who come together around common concerns, and usually they are people with different perspectives, different voices, different ways of thinking, and they have to work together and be patient with each other, respect each other's views, and to deliberate what's going on and to make new sense and new meaning of a situation. The picture there, you can see some people, multi-stakeholder group, working together to try to work out new solutions for sustainable agriculture. The second kind of learning that I wanted to just touch on is what we can call embodied empathetic learning. And this kind of learning involves inner reflection and listening. It requires us to, take care with others and with the world. We have to show our empathy and use our capacity for empathy in our learning practices. And then through this to be transgressive and build new relations with the world that don't exist at the moment. The third kind of learning is a kind of learning that we find when people actively confront contradictions, things that create tensions in the world around them, things that seem to be pulling in opposite directions. We need to examine these kinds of contradictions to try to see why it is that they're there, and then to try to look at solutions and to try them out. So for example, there's big contradictions between monoculture agriculture and sustainable agriculture, and we have to understand those contradictions and then try to see how to put new ways of doing things in place. The fourth kind of learning is also interesting, and that involves absenting absences, or absenting things that are not there, or ills, things that are wrong in the world. So for example, we could say that there's an absence of enough love for the planet in the world around us. And how would we absent that absence? well, we would need to put more love for the planet in its place. And so we need to work together to put these new practices in place and to absent these ills. It's quite an interesting process to begin to think about what is not there and what could be there, and then to work out how to put that in place in our learning activities. So all of these approaches are both similar and they're different. What they involve mostly is learning together with others, being reflexive and reflective, working out how to put new practices in place, which is not always easy, and then being willing to challenge the taken for granted norms that are around us. So I just wanted to end with saying that this kind of transformative, transgressive learning is possible in all contexts. We can see here these farmers in a rural area that are engaged with quite transgressive learning as they're thinking about the world that they want, a different kind of world. They want things to be different, and they have ideas of how this can be possible. And they're willing to experiment. So I would like to encourage you and all others to experiment and to learn how to do this kind of learning, because I think without that, change will not be possible. So thank you very much.